Yo, Camilo here, we're finally back. I haven't posted in a while, but there wasn't really much to post about in that period, and I kinda took a break from the whole game. But I'm back now, and in this video we're gonna be doing a weapons tier list for Dehya. So yeah, let's begin. Alright, so as always, we're gonna list the things that Dehya's gonna need on a weapon, so that we know how to rank the weapons more accurately. So she's gonna be mainly like a sub DPS, you can say, or a burst DPS, and she's gonna be doing damage. So obviously you're gonna need crit rate and crit damage. These are going to be very good. They're going to amplify your damage, so you're going to need them. The rest, she's going to scale off with HP and attack. She scales more with like attack. The HP scaling is kind of like not super good. So weapons that are going to give you attack are going to be more valuable. So you want to get attack, and then HP is also going to be appreciated. She's also going to protect your team with HP. So if there are any weapons that are going to give you HP, they're going to be usable. And then finally, you'd want to get her burst on a good uptime, so you'd want some energy recharge. I wouldn't really say you'd want it on your weapon like specifically, but it's gonna work. Or any weapons that are gonna give you like damage and some energy recharge or something like that. Alright, so with that being said, let's move on to weapons and rank them. So first of all, we've got the first Shadow. Below base stack, it's gonna give you HP as a substat, and then the passive is that when your HP is below 70%, it's gonna increase your charge attacks damage and stuff like that, which is not really that important. So as I said before, the low base stack and stuff like that, it's not really gonna be a good damage weapon. Yes, it's gonna give you HP, but I wouldn't really say it's gonna be super good on Dehya. It still doesn't really give her like the basics that she's gonna need, which are like crit, attack and stuff like that. So I wouldn't really say it's a top weapon for Dehya. I'd probably put it at like C tier. It's not terrible, it's gonna be usable for the HP, but it's definitely not good. Bloodstained Great Sword is just a very low base stack and then elemental mastery. And then it's gonna increase your damage from the passive. The passive is gonna be pretty good, but the low base stack and also the substat is not really good. Dehya is not really gonna need that much elemental mastery. She's not really gonna be like that much reactions focused. So the Blood Tainted Great Sword, in my opinion, is not really that good. I'd honestly put that at either like lower C tier or D tier. I would put that at D tier. We've got the White Iron. It's just defense and stuff like that, so it's going straight to D tier. It's not a good weapon. The Quartz, I don't think that's released. I hope, wait, let me check, because I'm being paranoid right now. A lot of times I think something's not released and it's released, or the opposite. So yeah, it's not released. So yeah, let's put that at D tier. The Bay Club is just gonna give you a kind of high base stack for a 3-star weapon, and then attack, and then it's just gonna give you some extra damage to your charge attacks, which is not really that good on Dehya. So I'll put that D tier too. Skyrider is just physical damage and stuff like that, so I'll put that D tier too. Well, you can use EM fun user in like Persian teams or like Overload or something like that, but I wouldn't really think these are like gonna be her ideal teams. We've got the Favonius. It's just gonna be energy recharge, and it's gonna support your team with energy. I would say it depends. If you're using Dehya as like a support for your team, she's like an off-field support, sub DPS and stuff like that, just for like damage mitigation and stuff like that, I would say it's gonna be a very viable option. It's gonna be very good. It's gonna help out your team with energy, which is a great like supportive weapon. In other scenarios where she focuses more on damage, I wouldn't really say it's gonna be that good, but as I said, if you're using her as like a pure support, or at least like a focused support, and you don't really care that much about her damage, I would say it's gonna be a decent weapon. So I'll put that A tier in my opinion. Even though in that case you're not really gonna need it for her elemental burst, you're not really gonna need that much energy recharge, but the thing is, as I said, it's gonna support your team, which is pretty good. We've got the Bell. It's gonna give you HP, and also it's gonna give you a decent base attack, at least compared to like other 3-star weapons like the first Shadow. And then the passive is just gonna give you a shield and increase your damage. I would say it's actually kind of viable. It's not really super good, but at least it works. I think that's like the first character who can actually use the Bell. Yeah, I think that's probably the first character who can use the Bell, and it doesn't like completely suck. So yeah, I would put the Bell like B tier. It's just an average weapon in my opinion. It's not super good. It's just gonna give you loads of HP, and then it's just gonna increase your damage. With higher refinements, it might be a little better, but generally speaking, I wouldn't really say it's like super good. So yeah, I would put that B tier. I think that works. We've got the Sacrificial, kind of a high base stack, some energy recharge, and then it's just gonna reset your elemental skills cooldown. The thing is, her elemental skill is just gonna recast, so if you use it a second time, it's not like gonna reset the duration or anything like that, so that's gonna decrease the value of the Sacrificial on Dehya a little bit. It's still gonna work in like some situations if you want to have like good uptime on her pyro application, or you just want to like use it to reposition and stuff like that, but generally speaking, it's not super good. I would say the Favonius is probably gonna be like just a better option in general if you want to go for energy recharge. But as I said before, in some teams it might be viable if you just want to like reposition, or if you just want to like, you know, proc reactions with Dehya. In that case, it might be viable. Generally, I'll put that like B tier. I think that's pretty accurate for the sacrificial. Royal Greatsword is just attack and then the bullshit passive. I'll put that like C or D tier, maybe C tier. Yeah, C tier. I think that's about right. Brain Slasher is just elemental mastery and then the passive is not gonna work. If you want to build elemental mastery, as I said, for like some reaction themes, in that case maybe, but other than that, it's not gonna be a super good weapon. So I'll put it like higher C tier. Or you know what, maybe lower B tier. As I said before, if you want to use it on like Persian teams or maybe like overload teams, it's gonna be viable. Prototype Archaic is just attack. I'll put that like C tier too. White Blind is just defense and it's just not gonna work, so it's going D tier. The Blackcliff Slasher is just crit damage and then the passive, it depends if you can activate it or not. If you can, it's just gonna give you attack. I would say it's a decent weapon. It's just simple crit damage and Dehya is gonna benefit from that. So yeah, I think I'll put that like higher B tier. Serpent Spine is just crit rate and then the passive is not really gonna work that much on Dehya because if you took damage and then you're gonna lose the stack. But it's pretty much the same thing with the Blackcliff. It's just for the crit rate and stuff like that. It's gonna be a viable option. So yeah, I'll put that B tier too. Lithic Blade is just gonna be attack and then the passive is, it depends if you're using like characters from Leeway. It's gonna give you some attack and crit rate. I wouldn't really say it's super good. I'll put that like higher C tier. The Star Silver is going C tier too. It's just physical damage and then a bullshit passive. The Fish Claymore, it's actually gonna be pretty decent. It's just gonna give you attack and then increase your elemental burst damage. So if you're using her as like a quick swap for damage, it's definitely gonna be very good. I would put that like higher B tier too. We have the Katsurai Gikuri. It's just gonna give you energy recharge and then it's gonna increase your elemental skills damage and then it's gonna give you energy from the passive. You're gonna lose energy and then it's gonna like give you that energy with interest. I would say it's also gonna be pretty good in like a quick swap team. So I might put that like higher B tier, or you know, I'll put that like A tier. I think it's gonna be very viable on Dehya. The Aquamarine is just elemental mastery and then the passive is just gonna give you like attack based around your elemental mastery. You're probably not gonna be building that much elemental mastery on Dehya unless you're using her in like Persian teams and stuff like that, as I said before. So yeah, for that type of team, I would say it's gonna work. It's just gonna give you elemental mastery and then it's gonna like help out your team a little bit. So yeah, I'll put that like B tier, only for Persian teams. We have the Akumaru. It's just gonna give you attack and then it's gonna increase your elemental burst damage based around how much energy your team has. For Dehya, that kind of depends. You're probably not gonna be using her with like very high energy characters, but generally speaking, it's still gonna work too. So you know, it depends, especially if you have it on like higher refinements. I would say it's a decent weapon too. I'll put that like B tier. Forest Regalia is just energy recharge, a high base attack, and then the passive is just gonna give you elemental mastery if you trigger like a version or something like that reaction. I wouldn't really think it's gonna be super good on Dehya because if you're playing her in like a version team, you'd want elemental mastery and that weapon doesn't really give you that much elemental mastery. You're not really gonna need that much energy recharge in like a reactions team, and that weapon doesn't even give you that much elemental mastery. So yeah, I wouldn't really say it's gonna be super good. It might be viable if you're using her as like a support weapon, but generally speaking, I wouldn't recommend. So I'll put that like higher C tier. We have the Mail Flower. I think that's a new weapon. I think it's probably gonna be free to play too. It's just gonna give you some elemental mastery and then the passive is just attack and elemental mastery. The base attack is also good for a 4-star weapon. So yeah, I would say it's kind of a decent weapon. I'll put that B tier too. And now finally for the 5 stars, we have the Skyward Pride. It's gonna give you a lot of energy recharge and a very high base attack, and then it's gonna increase your damage. And also from the passive, it's just gonna give you like some extra damage, which is pretty good. I would say it's a very decent weapon on Dehya, especially for like a damage team or quick swap or something like that. You're gonna need energy recharge and it's gonna give it to you, and it's also gonna give you a very high base attack, which is pretty good. So yeah, I'll put that like A tier. Wolf's Greystone is just the classic damage weapon, a high base attack, and then a lot of attack, and it's also gonna give your party members some attack. So yeah, it's definitely a very good weapon for Dehya if you're using her for damage. I would say it's probably one of her best weapons, so I'll put that like S tier. Song of Broken Pines is super high base attack, but the substat is just gonna be physical damage. It's gonna give you attack from the passive, but the rest of the passive doesn't really work that well on Dehya. So just for the high base attack and stuff like that, I'll put that like B tier. The Unforged is just kind of a high base attack and then attack too, but you're gonna need a shield, so I wouldn't really say it's super good. So yeah, I'll put that like lower A tier too. It's just like a classic damage weapon. We've got the Red Horn. It's gonna give you a lot of crit damage. The passive is just gonna increase your defense and your normal and charge attacks damage, but it's gonna give you a huge amount of crit damage, which you're gonna need on Dehya if you're using her for damage. So yeah, I would say it's one of her best weapons too. I'll put that S tier. And finally, we've got her signature weapon, the Bacon of the Reed Sea. I will review that weapon pretty soon, but it's basically just gonna give you crit rate and the passive is just basically gonna give you attack and HP. So yeah, it's definitely gonna work on Dehya. I wouldn't really say it's gonna be like super good or like a very far off from the other S tier weapons, but yeah, it's definitely a decent weapon. So yeah, it's obviously going S tier, is the best one, but it's not like super good on Dehya. So yeah, I would say this is the tier list, guys. Her weapons are kind of just like normal damage weapons, generally speaking, unless you want to use her for reactions. Then obviously you have elemental mastery weapons, and in some cases energy recharge weapons are gonna work too. So yeah, that was the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and see y'all in the next video. Peace.